Hi guys, it's Kelly and I am back with guy number 5. Guy number 5 is named Brian, and if you are keeping track, that means in 5 guys I have now dated 2 Brians. So I met Brian in high school. He was younger than me, my first younger guy, but definitely not my last, and you'll hear more about that in other videos. And Brian and I dated for a very short amount of time. I thought he was so good looking, and we would hang out with my friends, we would hang out at the mall, go out to eat and stuff, but we had some major issues. I have no idea what they were because neither of us knew how to communicate our wants and needs to the other person, and so therefore nothing got worked out. And I have no idea what he wanted. He had no idea what I wanted. I didn't even know how to act like myself. I just acted like who I thought Brian would like me to be. That doesn't work in relationships. Didn't work then, doesn't work now. We need to be ourselves. We always need to be ourselves. And so Brian dumped me by telling me that he was going to die any minute because he had a brain tumor, and that he shouldn't have a girlfriend anyway since he was going to die any minute. Spoiler alert, he is still alive, and we have been out of high school over 20 years. So, I know, right? Anyway, he told me that, and so we broke up, so I did the only sensible and classy thing that you can possibly do in that situation, which is to basically date all of his friends. I know, right? Anyway, little time passes and I have a friend over, and she's like, are there any guys at your school that you could call that you could fix me up with? And I start thinking, and I'm like, yeah, I think I know of this one guy I could fix you up with. And she calls him up. We're on my landline because we had that, and we're just sitting there passing it back and forth, and this guy's like, sure, come on over. And she's like, okay, well, can I bring Kelly? And he's like, well, Brian's here, and they didn't work out when they dated, so he's kind of hesitant about that. So my friend said, we'll call you back. And we called back, and my friend was like, I'm like, I have always wanted to get back together with Brian. And she's like, tell him you're pregnant. That always works for me. I tell lots of guys I'm pregnant, and they always come back. I just tell them I lost it later or I had an abortion, and I'm like, okay, yeah, that's not a route I want to start going down. And she was kind of chubby, so that worked for her because she could hold that, she could play that game for a while, but I didn't want to play that game even for a minute. And I was super skinny. So I'm like, I don't want to tell him that. And she's like, well, tell him you're pregnant. I'm like, okay, you know what? I haven't even talked to this guy outside of school for a long, long time, so he knows I'm not pregnant. And she is like, tell him you're pregnant and you had an abortion. And I'm like, girl, no, that is not what I want to say. She then told him I was pregnant and I had an abortion. Brian asked to talk to me. He got on the phone and he was crying and he was devastated. And that girl did that because she wanted to hang out with some guy she had never even met. Y'all, there are some crazy folk out there. Anyway, it took me forever to convince Brian I was never ever pregnant and never ever had an abortion. I felt bad about that for so long, and he kept saying to me, why did you do that to my baby? Like, Brian, I didn't do that at all to anybody's baby. I've never been pregnant, like, ever. And I still have never been pregnant, by the way, but I felt so bad. And we had only talked a little bit before then, like in the hall, but then we didn't talk at all. And then life just went on, and then when Facebook happened, he added me or I added him, and he lives in the next county over and has a good job and a nice house and super cute kids. And him and his wife have been married over 12 years. And he told me today that he met her once in high school, and then they met again in college and have been dating since and married for 12 years. Hashtag success story. So anyway, obviously he didn't die, and he learned how to communicate, learned how to tell people his problems, and learned how to say what he really wanted and what he really needed in relationships. And hopefully, one day, I will do the same. Until then, thanks. Bye. Subscribe to my channel as always, and tune in to see what happens next. And now, for reals. Thanks. Bye.